Good morning. On today's episode, I'm going to debone a leg of lamb and show everyone what we can do with the leg of lamb. We don't just necessarily have to roast it whole. There's a few different things we can do with this. We can get some diced out of this. We can get a little roast. We can get a nice lamb shank out of that. So first things first, you just need to give it a little haircut. So take off all of this heavy fat on the outside. Take off this piece of flank. So you will get a little bit of trimming out of these. You'll get fat, sausage trim, mince trim. So this one here is the skirt. So that one can just be diced or turned into sausage. So we've got a little bit of heavy fat underneath the leg itself. So we'll need to trim this before we can sort of get inside of the leg. Okay, so this is the tendon. I usually like to cut it before I do anything. Crack the shank. So there's a little joint middle, and then you just cut all the way through. So there we got one shank. Now, the chump end, we can cut that off. We can turn that into a roast, or we can cut it off here, leave the bone in, and then cut them like so, and then we'll get some chump chops out of that. Debone it, take the bone out, slice it, you'll get lamb rump steak. But I'll just take out this hip bone. So just come nice and hard up against the bone, like so. And there's a little joint in there. See that? You just want to stick your knife in that and come nice and hard up against the bone. Come back in behind that ball and cup joint. There's a little, you can hear that? There's a little joint that just lies up against the top side. So we need to come hard up against that bone. Making sure that you don't leave too much meat on the bone. Like so. Come behind it. Now here's that little hip joint. We can just pop that out like so. Cut it straight off. Then we've got our femur bone just in here. So you come hard up against that, exposing the top side all the way down to the bottom. Flip her around, come behind that end of the femur, nice and hard against the bone, and you just want to use the tip of your knife. You don't want to use the middle part or even down the bottom, just the tip, because you just want to come nice and hard up against the bone like so. As you can see, coming nice and hard up against that bone there, both sides. There's a little cup that just hides there underneath the rump. So take your time, just come underneath that, like so, leaving as little meat on the bone as possible. Take all that meat off. You can just feed that one to your pup if you got one. And again, that's just going to be turned into, we'll lean that out, turn that into sausage. Okay, now that's pretty much deboned. There's a little piece of bone that just sits above the top side there after we crack that ball and cup joint. Now, what we can do is we can cut the rump off, like so. And there's the rump. And then we're left with the knuckle, top side, and this silver side, often referred to as knuckle inside because it's on the inside of the leg, and then you've got your outside, which is the silver side, because that's on the outside there, as you can see. Lovely Tasmanian lamb. You just separate that little spiderweb membrane there. A little bit of a heel muscle here, which that can be diced or turned into sausage or mince. Top side. Now that piece there is the outside, also known as silver side. So you just want to follow that down, and you've got this silver side eye there. So you don't want to cut through that, and just cut all the way through like that. So there we go, we've got one top side. Little membrane in here. We'll just peel that back, like so. We'll just cut that straight off because there's a little bone there from the femur bone. So we'll just take a little bit of this off on the outside. That's going into the bin. There we go. So just deconstructed the leg. So you've got one top side, also known as inside. You've got round, also known as knuckle, because it's the kneecap. And then you've got your outside, which is the silver side. So what we can do with these ones, we can trim up this heavy fat. Like so. Underneath it, there's a little bit of heavy sort of stuff here. And then we can dice it. Get some dice out of that. Not massive chunks, because you can just do this pretty quick. You don't need to slow cook this one. So just get some nice small dice. So we've got some diced lamb there. Now the knuckle. It's just a little fat cover off the top. Take that off. Square it off, and then you can turn that back into your diced. And then we'll get some nice even steaks because it's already been squared off. Some nice lamb knuckle. And And then the silver side, you can't really do too much with the silver side. That really just is best for dicing. It doesn't really make nice steaks per se. So I usually like to just take off that heavy fat. I'll take the eye out. Take off that bit of fat there. You just want to take your time with butchering. You don't want to rush it. You want to leave all the meat intact and not much on the bone. Some nice small diced. So that'll make it nice. You can do a curry with that. You don't have to do a curry. You can just do a quick cook with that one. Nice lamb dish. Now we're left with the rump. Rump is one of my favorite cuts, especially as a roast or as steaks. Comes out really nice. So we'll just go through and we'll just take off that heavy trimming. Just take a bit of this off, face it off. Have it. Now I'll turn this one into a lovely little lamb rump roast. We'll just roll that into itself like so, and we'll chuck a little bit of string on it. Making sure it's nice and tight so it doesn't fall apart. Making sure that your strings are nice and even. Like I said, just take your time. Don't need to rush it. Butcher's knot's pretty simple. If you want to tie up any roast at home, you just want to come underneath, over your main line, like so. Pinch it, wrap it, tuck it underneath the loop, and pull. And then that will just tighten on itself. Give it a flick, just like you're holding a gun. Over your thumb, underneath your index, and just pull a little bit of extra line that's hanging through. And that's nice and tight. So once again, underneath, over your main, pinch it, flick it, tuck it, give little bit of extra pulling length. Little gun over your thumb underneath your index. Pull on that last bit of the string that's hanging there. That's it. Nice little lamb rub roast. That'll cook up very, very nice, that one. So we've got lamb knuckle steaks. We've got a lamb rump roast. We've also got some diced lamb. And then we've also got a shank as well, which I can just crack that off. So you've got a nice little lamb shank there. And then you've got all your scraps as well. So you've got your heavy fat. These ones here, you can just go through and trim these out. And that makes some beautiful sausages, that one. There we go. So you've got some sausage trim, all minced. And you can render down the scraps if you want to, but it doesn't really make the nicest of tallow, in my opinion. And if you want to, if you don't want to do diced, you can mince that as well if you've got a mincer at home. Thanks for tuning in.